The sand is in your mouth before you understand what happened. One moment you're standing. The next you're not. 50,000 people are screaming and you can't tell if they want you dead or alive.
You're 17.
You're about to find out.
Level 1, the Novice.
Your father sold you to a Lanista for the price of a mule and 3 months of grain. You don't know this yet. You know only that a man with a wax tablet came to your village, looked at your shoulders, looked at your legs, and nodded at your father. 2 days later you're in a cart heading south on roadstones older than anyone you've ever met. The Ludus is a walled compound outside Capua. 4-meter walls, iron gate. The Lanista, Gaius Servilius, walks the line of new arrivals in silence and stops at each man and looks. He stops at you for 4 seconds.
Moves on.
You'll spend months learning what that meant. They take your clothes the first morning and hand you a loincloth and a wooden training sword that weighs twice what a real one does. By the end of the first week you understand why. The doctor, a scarred Gaul named Vercinus, starts before sunrise and doesn't stop until dark. You run the perimeter wall 20 times. You lift stones until your arms quit. You swing the wooden sword at a post 500 times per arm, and when you stop, Vercinus hits the back of your knees with a cane.
You don't stop again. 40 men in your cohort. 9 purchased slaves.
12 Dacian prisoners. The rest are volunteers who signed away their legal status for prize money and a shot at a name. You're one of them. You told yourself the distinction mattered. It matters less each week. You eat twice a day. Barley porridge, olive oil, dried fish when they have it. The doctors say the barley lays fat under the skin that slows bleeding out.
You eat it anyway.
By the 3rd month your arms don't look like your arms anymore. You stare at them in the water basin and find something unfamiliar looking back. The place is rewriting you without your permission, and this is the first morning you understand that. You watch the senior fighters train across the yard. They move differently. Nothing wasted. One of them, a Thraex named Brixus, catches you watching one afternoon and doesn't react. He turns back to his drill. You haven't earned the right to be seen. Level 2, the Tyro. Your first arena is not Rome. A municipal amphitheater in Nola, 600 seats, poorly maintained. The drainage channels are clogged. The sand is wet near the left gate. You file this. Your opponent is a Murmillo from Brundisium, 1 year ahead of you, 3 arena appearances behind him. You're a Secutor, same shield and gladius, helmet with narrow eye holes. The fight runs 6 minutes. He cuts your left forearm in the 2nd minute, shallow, but the blood reaches your palm and your grip turns uncertain. You shift your weight, remember what Vercinus said about the left leg driving the thrust, find the gap at his throat, and stop. The editor extends a hand from his box.
Thumb tucked.
The man lives. The medicus wraps your arm with salt-soaked linen. You don't make a sound because Brixus is across the room. That night someone sets a cup of water across the table from Brixus.
You sit down. Nobody speaks. You eat.
You know what this is. Record, 1 appearance, 1 victory, opponent spared. Level 3, the fighter with a name.
2 years.
14 appearances. 12 victories, 1 draw, 1 loss. You survived because the editor was generous and the crowd had money on you. Your name is painted above the gate now. People recognize you in the market on supervised days. A woman once pressed a carved wooden figure into your hand and vanished into the crowd. You kept it without knowing why. You fight a retiarius in Pompeii named Drax. Dacian, 23 appearances, 6 years in. Vercinus briefed you 3 days out. Net throw favors the left shoulder, high trident guard when circling, a scar on the right hip that costs him half a step laterally. You've absorbed all of it. Vercinus briefs you like this before every fight, which is how you first understood that most of a fight is settled before you enter the sand. 11 minutes. He nets your left arm in the 4th minute. You drop, release the shield, roll under the drag. The crowd screams. You finish on just the gladius and forearm guard. He misses with the trident twice. You don't miss. You stand over him with the point at his throat and look to the editor.
He takes his time.
Crowd Drax you.
Drax lives. You shake his hand.
Both of you are breathing too hard to speak. His grip is firm. The medicus finds a cracked rib from the net drag. You train through it. The Ludus has you contracted for Puteoli in 4 weeks and that doesn't move. Level 4, the crowd's favorite. You're 22. 5 years in. Record, 28 victories, 3 losses, 2 draws. The senior fighter on the floor now. The new men watch you the way you watched Brixus. Brixus is dead. He went down in Capua 8 months ago against someone younger and faster. The crowd voted, and that was the end of him. The Lanista deducted the armor cost from the quarterly accounts and moved a 16-year-old Thracian into his cell. You get 15% of the editor's prize payment per victory now. There's a number in your head.
The price of your freedom.
You asked the Lanista what it was once.
He told you.
You've been walking toward it for 5 years. You fight in Rome for the first time at the amphitheater of Statilius Taurus. 10,000 seats, all of them full. Waiting in the Hypogeum underground, stone ceiling torchlight, the smell of animals drifting through from the adjacent passage where they pen the beasts for the morning venations. The man beside you is a hoplomachus named Castor. His daughter is 4. She made him a clay figure she said was him fighting.
He showed it to you.
You couldn't tell what it was, but it was clearly something. Castor fights before you, wins, comes back with a cut above the eye that won't need stitching. He sits down and says nothing. You say nothing.
You wait. They call your name. You walk up the ramp. The light at the top is absolute. Level 5, the champion.
19,000 sesterces saved. The price is 22,000. 7 years in.
41 appearances.
You train the new arrivals twice a week because Vercinus's knees have gone and because the Lanista loses money on men who die badly. You show them weight distribution, grip pressure, how to read a shoulder before the strike comes. What Vercinus taught and a few things you figured out yourself when there was no time to remember training. One new man is 17.
Name is Palo.
Quick hands, bad footwork, questions during every drill. He should annoy you and mostly doesn't. You correct his footwork 12 times in the first week. On the 13th he holds it right and you move on without a word, and from the corner of your eye you watch him notice. You fight Marcus Crispus in Rome. 47 victories on his record. 3-day games, final event, imperial household in the presiding box. The Lanista conveys this as a neutral fact. It sits in your chest with a weight that isn't fear and isn't excitement either.
22 minutes. Longest fight of your life.
The right shoulder separates in the 15th minute when you absorb a block you should have deflected. You fight the last 7 with no full rotation in the dominant arm and win anyway. 40,000 people standing. You're in the center of the sand feeling the shoulder, the thigh cut from the 3rd minute, the cracked knuckle, the grit still in your teeth from the 8th minute when he drove you down.
The crowd is enormous. It is also very far away.
The Lanista meets you at the gate. Imperial approval, he says, as though it's yours. You understand completely that it isn't.
Level 6, the veteran.
25 years old.
54 appearances.
The medicus keeps a separate scroll just for you, right shoulder rebuilt by a Greek surgeon from Alexandria, 3 rib fractures healed, a left thigh puncture that needed honey-soaked linen packing for 6 weeks, 30% hearing loss in the left ear from a helmet strike in Neapolis.
Castor is dead. 4 months ago in Pompeii.
A Murmillo 6 years younger. The crowd voted and the editor obliged. Castor lowered his arm, turned his neck. Vercinus told you in the training yard and you went back to the post and resumed the drill because there was nothing else to do.
Daria is 5.
The Lanista will send 400 sesterces to her mother per custom.
It won't cover much.
21,000 saved. The Lanista moved his price to 24,000 last week.
Flat voice, no apology.
You looked at him for 3 seconds and walked back to the yard.
Palo has fought 6 times.
5 victories. The footwork is right now. He stopped asking the wrong questions and started asking useful ones. You watch him train and see something you can't name exactly, a young man who hasn't learned what losing costs yet. He'll be a different fighter when the sand teaches him. You're not in a hurry. Level 7, the Rudis. The Lanista called you into his room on a morning in late October. Low light through the single window.
A wooden sword on the desk.
He said your contract was satisfied, your accumulated prize contributions had cleared the agreed figure, and your legal status was changed effective that day.
He pushed the Rudis across. You picked it up.
Training swords were always made heavier. You'd been swinging something twice this weight for 8 years and this one felt like air. You're 26. You walk out through the iron gate without a guard. Road north to Capua, sun fully up, leather purse with 2,400 sesterces, the balance after final accounting. Rudis in your right hand. Nowhere specific to be. You rent a room in Capua, eat near the forum, walk the streets without anyone beside you. It functions like vertigo. You imagined this day across 8 years of mornings and the imagined version was larger than this room, this street, this particular quiet. It sits on your chest like a weight you haven't developed the muscles for yet. 6 weeks later the Lanista sends a message. 80 sesterces a month to train fighters. You think about Palo, 2 years into his arena career now, fighting at NOLA in 3 weeks with the best footwork in the cohort. You write back. You go through the Iron Gate as a free man by choice. The gate is the same gate. Everything else is different.
Level 8, the Doctor. 31.
Vercinus died 2 years ago, heart failure on a Tuesday in February, in his cot. The Lanista buried him outside the city walls with a carved stone, 67 fights, 54 victories. You stood at the grave with 6 senior fighters and said what was accurate, which was that he'd been precise and demanding and that men who shouldn't have become fighters did, because of him, and that you were one of them. That seemed like enough. You run the floor now. Left knee grinds on cold mornings. You wrap it before every session and make certain the new men never see it. Palo is your senior fighter. 31 victories, best technical fighter in the Ludus, aware of it in a way that worries you. You've told him twice that confidence in your own skill is a liability in the sand. He's nodded both times the way young men nod at things they haven't felt yet. You're waiting for the sand to finish that lesson.
28 men.
You know each one's family. You know who sleeps badly, who's protecting an injury they haven't reported. On a Thursday you quietly reduce one man's training load because on Wednesday you saw him favor his left ankle on the 15th lap. He never knows.
The ankle holds. A Gaul arrives. 18, name Brennus.
The Lanista says he has what you had. You watch him drill 10 minutes and disagree. You see someone who could have it in 2 years with the right instruction. That's a more fragile thing. You start working with him on the 3rd morning.
Level 9, the Lanista.
You bought the Ludus 4 years ago. Servilius died without heirs, the estate went to auction, and 15 years of training fees and fighter contracts had put enough away.
You're 38.
You own the Iron Gate.
40 fighters.
A former retiarius named Cato runs the floor. You visit the mornings, fix what needs fixing, leave what's working alone. You've learned that constant presence breeds dependence and the sand doesn't have room for dependence. Palo is 35. 2 rebuilt knees, 1 repaired shoulder, 61 victories. He lost for the first time in 7 years last year and the crowd spared him, partly because they remembered what he'd given them across a decade, partly because he took the loss without theater. You watched from the editor's box. Said nothing at the gate. Went to the medical room later and sat with him in silence and then told him his contract was renewed if he wanted it.
He said he did.
You sit in this room now, Servilius's room, the same desk where a Rudis changed your status. 40 contracts signed here. 11 men walked out with their own wooden sword. 3 families received a leather purse. The amounts were never sufficient. You sent them because silence was worse. Brennus is your champion. 28 victories in 4 years. Rome knows his name. He'll want to buy his freedom in 3 years.
You've already set the price.
You won't change it. Level 10, the retired warrior.
You're 50.
The Ludus sold last year to 3 Roman businessmen who paid well and changed the gate immediately. You watched from across the road, then walked north. House in the Campanian hills, porch, valley view. The same hills you came from. The same road you traveled at 17 in the back of a cart with your hands in your lap, knowing almost nothing. You know where the road ends now.
It ends here.
There is a quality of morning light over the valley that you never had time to look at until now, and you look at it. You look at it for a long time. The left knee doesn't fully bend. The right shoulder rotates about 3/4. The scar on the left thigh runs from inner knee to mid-thigh and you can trace it in the dark by following the numbness. 30 years old. Honey-packed linen in Neapolis, long gone. You are the sum of every repair and everything that just healed on its own terms. Palo retired 2 years before the sale. He's 2 villages east and you share a meal every month when the road is passable. His knees are worse than yours. Neither of you says so. Brennus is still fighting on his own contract, free man, chose to go back. You understand this without any need to discuss it. There's a piece of bark on the table inside the door, lying flat. 7 names on it.
Men who can't write. Castor. Brixus.
A young Dacian named Arvo who died in his second appearance in Puteoli, 18 years old, at that same arena with the bad drainage where you fought your first match. The week before he died, he asked you whether the noise from 600 people was as loud as it sounded from outside. You told him it was manageable. It wasn't manageable for him. You have thought about that specific answer for 30 years at irregular intervals and you have never arrived at a better one. Your daughter visits in spring.
She's 18.
Her mother is in Capua. You've sent money on the 1st of every month since the girl was born, and the relationship is built on that and the occasional meal and on the fact that someone told her accurate things about you rather than convenient ones. She sits on the porch and asks specific questions, nothing sentimental. You answer the same way. It's the closest thing to a full conversation you know how to have. Some mornings you walk down to the road for no particular reason. You stand on the stone and look south toward Capua. Somewhere on this road right now, a cart is moving north. A 17-year-old in the back with his hands in his lap, told almost nothing about where the road goes. He has a general idea of combat and no idea what it costs. He's watching the hills and thinking he's at the beginning of something he'll master. He's right about the beginning. The gate is waiting. The sand is waiting. The wooden sword that weighs twice what it should is waiting. He'll pick it up on the first morning and won't put it down for longer than he can currently imagine. You sit on the porch with your hands around a clay cup and watch the light come over the ridge and fill the valley, and you don't look away.